Hi, so today we're going to learn about setup in Salesforce for Congregation Connect. And just to review, what is Salesforce versus Congregation Connect? Salesforce is the database and the system behind Congregation Connect. Congregation Connect is a third-party app, much like on your phone, which provides customization and features that a synagogue requires. Both terms are used interchangeably throughout our sessions, and you are using both together. Both come with native functionality, customization, and limitations. And also you may hear us reference classic or lightning versions of Salesforce. So the classic version of Salesforce is the previous interface that was used prior to the release of Lightning. Lightning is the version that we are using right now. This is the Lightning version of Salesforce. And just so you know, if you wanted to ever access the classic version of Salesforce, you can click on your avatar icon in the top right corner of your screen. And down here under options, you can click on switch to Salesforce Classic. And this is the Salesforce Classic interface here. You'll see it's just slightly more condensed of a layout, a little bit darker, and this is the classic version. If you want to switch back to the Lightning experience, you can click on this button in the top right corner of your screen to go back to the Lightning interface. You may want to just keep this in mind because the classic and Lightning versions of Salesforce are often referenced in certain help documentation, etc. So that's how you can switch between the two or access the classic version if you'd like to. Now let's go over the setup menu in Salesforce. So we're going to click on the little gear icon in the top right corner of our screen, and you'll see where it says setup. We're going to click on that button. And this brings you to the entire setup in Salesforce. You'll see there's a quick find box over here on the left-hand side at the top, and you can easily search this entire menu, entire setup menu. You can click to expand or collapse any of these sections if you'd like. But again, the quick find box is the simplest way to find something quickly. You'll also see we have the object manager here next to home, but right now we're going to focus on the home setup page. So first, let's take a look at security, some security options that we have in our setup menu. So the first thing we're going to go over are the session settings. You'll see there are quite a few security options here, but we're going to go through session settings right now. And here you can see that you do have quite a few different settings that you can set for session security and session expiration timeout for your specific organization. You can certainly customize this to your own preferences, but again, session timeout is referring to when you would like someone to be logged out of their session automatically. You can set that timeout value there. You have certain session settings here, etc. And this is something you'll want to go through at your own leisure and enable or customize this to suit your preferences for your organization. Now, the next thing we want to take a look at here in security are the password policies. So let's go back to, let's just search password policies. And here you can set the type of password options that people have, how long the passwords will take to expire. You can set the password length, minimum, complexity requirements, etc. That you can customize the messaging that they will receive if they forgot their password. And you can modify this based on your own determinations. But this is where you would find the password policies for your organization. Another thing we're going to take a look at is the health check. So you'll see that health check is something that you can click on under the security menu. So please do not use this as a good example of a health check. This is our demo site, but your Salesforce baseline standard should be much higher than this. This is just a rating that is used by Salesforce, tells you how you're falling within the Salesforce standard. And if you want to review these security settings, then you can do so, and you can see your status here, the setting, the group, your value, and what is the standard value and where you're falling within there. You can click under actions on this far right column. You can click the edit button to edit any of these, and you will be taken to the page, the appropriate page that will enable you to edit that specific setting. So let's next take a look at network access. So network access, this list shows the IP address ranges from the sources that your organization trusts. So if you remember in our introduction to Salesforce course, we showed you that there will be a verification code sent to anyone logging into Salesforce from a new device. So this is saying, so any of these IP addresses, these are trusted IP addresses, and therefore they will not receive a verification code. Otherwise, they will receive that verification code requirement if anyone is trying to log into Salesforce from an IP that is not one of these trusted IPs. You can add an IP address to this list if you'd like to by clicking on new, and then you would not need to activate your computer with that verification code if you're logging in from that IP. Now let's next take a look at users in the setup menu. So you'll see we have the users section here, and we're going to take a look at all users. The all users screen shows you all of your current users in Salesforce. You can see the user full name, their last login, their username, their profile, which we'll go over in just a moment, and you can see whether or not they are an active user. If the check mark is checked off under this active column, then that means that person is currently an active user. You will want to deactivate the any user who is no longer with your organization. So you'll want to unselect that checkbox anytime someone leaves your organization. And if you have a new user, you will want to click on the new user button from here. You can also select one person here if you'd like to by clicking the checkbox and then click reset password if you wanted to do that. You can also log in as someone by clicking on the login button to the far left of their name. So let's take a quick look at a new user, what that screen looks like. If you have a new user, you could fill out this information. You'll see you will have to set the user license and the user profile, which we will go over in just a minute. They will be an active user. And then here at the bottom, just notice that it says generate new password and notify user immediately. And so if this box is checked off and you save it, it will automatically notify that user and they will be able to log in to Salesforce immediately. If you don't want to do that immediately, you can deselect that checkbox and you can go back to the page that we were just on and reset their password when you want them to be notified and be able to log in. So let's take a look at a closer look at the profile. You'll see this profile column here for the users. And so the profile is the baseline level of permissions that a user has. For example, a system administrator. This is typically the highest level of permission, the highest profile. But let's take a closer look at profiles by clicking on profiles from the setup menu. So here, we're looking at the profiles page, and you'll see these are the different profiles that we have. You can see if it's custom or not. And if you click on any one profile, you'll be able to see the specific areas of permission that it has. Now, as I said, the baseline level of permissions are included in the profile. If you had someone, for example, who, let's go to users again. If you had someone, for example, who was only a Congregation Connect user with Read Financials, for example, we have, and you wanted to allow them certain admin permissions or a permission set on top of that, that profile, then you could go to permission sets over here under the setup menu, and you can create a new permission set by clicking on the new button here. And you can name that permission set, and you will click on the license, etc., and you'll have to create that, and you can then assign users to that permission set. Additionally, so this, again, permission sets give additional permissions to certain people with a specific profile. Okay, so all of these things give people access to Salesforce. We also need to give them access to Congregation Connect. So remember, under users, we had the active checkbox checked off for anyone who's active. And if that is checked off, then someone is currently using one of our licenses in Salesforce. Now, what about Congregation Connect? To see the permissions, etc., for Congregation Connect, or the access for Congregation Connect, you're going to want to type in installed packages, or we're going to look at installed packages on our setup menu here. So I'm clicking on installed packages, and Congregation Connect is listed here as Synagogue Cloud. So that's referring to Congregation Connect. If I click on that, it will show me all of my users. Nope, here's my installed package detail. Okay, so here's my installed package detail. And now if I click on manage licenses, it shows me all of my users with their profile and whether they are active or not. So these are all of my active licensed users for Congregation Connect. Again, if the active is checked off, then the license is being used. In order to free up a license, you must uncheck the active checkbox here. Okay, next, let's take a look at some of the company information in Salesforce. So your organization's information is stored under the company information page on the setup menu. Here, we have our organization name and our organization profile in Salesforce. Just note here that we do have a Salesforce organization ID here and an instance. So these are two things that you may want to make a note of, or store these items outside of here in addition to this page, just in case you ever need to reference them for any reason. I also want to show you a website that can be used for security. It is trust.salesforce.com. So this website can be used to see any notifications from Salesforce. Anytime the system's down, you may want to go to this site. You can also check your own system status on this site. And let's take another look here. We're going to use our instance number here, this ID. And let's get back to this screen. We're going to go back to this trust.salesforce.com website. And here, if we click on system status here, we click learn more, we can go to status right here on the first option. And we can enter our instance number right there. Click search, and here's our results. This is us. NA113 is our instance number, and that means North America 113. And here we can see our overall status of our system. We can also see the history, and we can also see any maintenance in the recent past or the future coming up. So just know that this website exists if you ever want to use it. There's also a lot of security information on this website if you're interested in learning more about security in Salesforce. So the next thing we're going to take a look at here is, let's go back to let's go back home. Okay, so let's take a look at our waffle here for a moment. And let's type in recycle bin. So just know that we do have a recycle bin here. It does automatically default to my recycle bin on this list view. But if you click on that list view, then you can click organization recycle bin to see everything in the recycle bin. This recycle bin shows everything deleted from the past 15 days. So if you want to, you can, if you've accidentally deleted something and you want to restore it, you could click on that record name, right? And you would click on the little checkbox to the left here, and you can click on the button that says restore up here to restore that record. You can also choose to empty the recycle bin or permanently delete a record. Just like any other object, I can create a list view here if I wanted to create a new list view as well. So that's the recycle bin. Let's take a look at, we're going to go back into setup and let's go to our gear icon setup. Another thing I want to mention on that same note of data is the data export. So let's do data export from our setup menu here. And I just want to note that Salesforce does have this option for you as a backup for all of your information in Salesforce. You can prepare a copy of all of your Salesforce data from this page by clicking export now if you'd like to manually start the export process now. Or what you can do is schedule an export. And you can run that on a consistent schedule to continuously automatically back up your data in Salesforce. So when an export is ready for download, you will receive a link in an email that allows you to download that backup file. You can also access the backup file here for 48 hours after the export if you'd like to. So I'm going to click on the schedule export button just to show you what this looks like. Here we can include images, documents, and attachments. We can include all of these document versions if we'd like. And down here, notice it says exported data. I would recommend including all data in your export rather than selecting a few things in the list. And then here you'll see it says schedule data export. You can select a frequency on the first of every month or on the first Sunday of every month, whatever you'd like, and you can select a start and end time. You could select 10 or 20 years from now if you want this to happen consistently. And then you can also select a start time. The start time will depend on how many items are in the queue, because Salesforce does have all of its exports take place together and there is a queue. So if you choose a rather less common time for your preferred start time, then it will be more likely to happen closer to that time, if that makes sense. So you would set all of these options for yourself or for your export and click save on this screen if you'd like to schedule a data export. And we certainly don't think it would hurt to schedule a backup of your data. Just know that this exists, and you can also have other backup system backup options in addition to this too. It's not a bad idea to do that. Another thing I want to take a look at regarding data is your storage usage. So also under data on the setup menu is the storage usage. So you can see on the storage usage screen all of your organization's storage usage listed below. You can see the storage type. So data storage is your main data in the system, and then file storage and big object storage. And you can also see a listing of exactly what is taking up that space. You can see the percentage used, and you'll see if you're anywhere near your limit, whether or not you may need to worry about obtaining more storage, but usually it's not an issue. And that is everything that we're going to go over today. And I hope that you learned something and look forward to seeing you in our next session.